Working from home has its perks. You can work in your jammies, you can hang out on the couch, you can stay close to your pets, but the distractions are also a lot and they can become a real challenge. So today I'm going to share my 5 top tips for staying productive while you work remotely or run your business remotely from home. Let's get into them. All right. So the first thing that I found to be super effective is to establish like a morning routine. Now, this doesn't have to be a wake up at 3 a.m., go for a 10-mile run type of morning routine. It can be much more simple. If you're somebody who likes to exercise in the morning, I think that could be great. If you like to journal or meditate, or if you even just like to go get coffee with your partner or your friend or by yourself, that can be really helpful as well. Just something to kind of anchor in what you're going to do in the morning, I think can be super, super helpful. And so that's kind of the first thing I would recommend is if you don't have a morning routine, establish one. I know for me, it's, I have coffee, I have breakfast, I shower like any normal person. And then I'll maybe watch one YouTube video with my wife. I'll go through my daily planning journal. I use the Best Self Co. one, the Self Journal. And then I just start my day. And those are kind of like my anchors, and they help me shift into knowing when it's work mode. So find something that works for you. Don't make it overwhelming. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, and stick to it. Number 2 is designating a specific workplace. So this is one that was really hard for me. I've been working from home for 15 years at this point. But when I first started and it was less popular, the cool thing to do was to work from like your couch or your bed, right? Or your favorite like recliner. And that sounds great, but I think where the challenge potentially comes through is when you start blending your work life and your real life, you can kind of feel like you're always on the clock, right? If you're used to working from the couch, it's normal to start thinking about work stuff when you're supposed to be relaxing on the couch, let's say at the end of the day. And so what I found to be pretty helpful is to have a designated workspace, whether that's an office or whether that's just saying, hey, I'm going to work from this desk and this other desk is for my play, right? Maybe you have one desk specifically for playing, or if you're like a gamer or you like to do a lot of stuff online, that's what that is. And then you have another one separate for work. And that's something that I found pretty helpful. I think too, if you do a lot of stuff on the phone and you can afford it, separating things like work laptop, work phone, is going to help you not blend those things. I think we've all, as business owners, have probably had the experience of like you're hanging out with a friend or family and your phone rings from a work person. Like the worst thing you could do is be out at dinner or on a date or something, and you're getting a call from a client or a prospective client or something like that. So I think it's super helpful to, if you can, separate those things. And if not, just have hard boundaries and know, hey, I don't deal with that stuff until next week. So until Monday, right? So that's the next thing is like really having a designated workspace so that you can make sure that's what you're focused on when you're in the workspace. Number 3 is to set super clear boundaries. Setting super clear boundaries is super important if you want to be productive. And again, if you don't want your like mental health to decline remarkably rapidly. So what I might recommend is, having hard times that you know you're going to work and know you're not going to work. And I know that can be challenging, but I found it to be the most helpful when you say, look, I'm done working at 5 p.m. on Friday or whatever it is. Maybe it's 8 p.m. Like you can find whatever schedule or flow works for you if you like to work at nights. But you want to make sure you're setting up those clear boundaries, because if not, it's going to kind of feel like you're always working, right? Those thoughts are going to creep in anyway, especially if you're like a business owner or like a freelancer or something. But we want to avoid it as best as possible, right? So like we want to minimize this. So I think having boundaries to when you work, and I would go as far as to like when, like what you're working on at specific times are going to be helpful. If you can have physical space boundaries, like I said, whether it's like you work from office or maybe you're somebody who like goes to a workspace or works in a coffee shop or whatever, just having those clear boundaries for when you work and when you don't. And I think the inverse is true too. When you're working, let's say your partner or you have a roommate or a friend or family or kids, they're home while you're working. I think letting them know, hey, this is my work time. I can't really like go watch TV on the couch, or I can't take you to the park, or I can't like go just hang out right now, or whatever it may be, is going to be helpful, because then you feel like you're really locked in and focused during that time. All right, number 4 is to use time blocking for efficiency. I think a lot of times for business owners, especially, there's an infinite list of things you could be doing and you're never going to be done. There's no done, unfortunately, in business. The horrors persist, but so must we. And so we're going to always keep going. And so what I found very helpful, and part of the reason I use tools like self journals, and there's a million version bullet journals, things like that, is because it forces you to prioritize what you're going to do in the day, right? If you don't want to get a journal or you're not a journal person, what I might advise and what I've used for a long time was writing down everything that I feel like I need to do in the morning, like whether it's like a brain dump on a notebook or on a Word doc or on your phone, however you like to document things. And then go through and prioritize what are the most important things for you to do. And then don't expect yourself to do everything, right? Like realize, okay, I have 10 things to do. These 3 are the most important. So I'm going to do these 3 today. And these are the times I'm going to knock them out. If you blow through them, you can get into bonus tasks or you can move them to the next day. But that I think is going to be, I found the most helpful when you kind of have like a never ending list of things to do. So, and that way you also like have a clear schedule. I think sometimes the worst thing I've seen is some business owners who work remotely, they open their laptop and they're like, what am I going to do today? And they go to Facebook and they go to Instagram, they go to LinkedIn, and they're like, before they know it, like 3 hours are done basically just surfing the web, which is, if that's not what your intended usage is for that time, might not be the most efficient way to use that to run your business. So that's the 4th tip is I would strongly recommend blocking out and scheduling your time. And then the 5th thing that I think is often overlooked that kind of goes with the blocking your time is schedule in breaks. This is something I still struggle with. I'll schedule out my day and I'll realize, oh, I didn't schedule lunch or like taking a 5-minute break or getting water or anything like that. And it's just a back to back to back to back until the day is over. And I know it's tempting to want to just like power through or to say I'm built different or something like that. But those short breaks actually are going to make the time you do work a little bit more effective and productive. You can use things like, the Pomodoro method where you're working for a certain amount of time and you're setting a certain amount of time off. There's a zillion free YouTube and probably on different like Apple Music, Spotify lists that you can get so that this is when I work and then this pings you to take a break. But I found that to be super helpful. It also helps split up the things you're doing, whether it's like you're switching from one task to the next or whether you just need a break on the current task that you're focused on. So I think scheduling breaks at a minimum, schedule yourself some lunch, even if you're like, well, I can eat in 10 minutes. Well, still take like 20 minutes, maybe go for a walk outside or read a book for fun or something to really like take a break from your brain, right? So that's the last thing that I found super helpful. So yeah, these are the 5 things that I found super, super helpful for staying productive as a business owner who works from home. If there's anything I missed, why don't you tell me? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I want to know. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, ring bells, and follow for more. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.